Hi.
Happy New Year. 10
Happy
days
New
late.
Year's.
Merry
10 days
Crisis.
Merry
Welcome to the
Christmas.
living room, everybody. I feel like for some reason it seems like it's been a long week and it just started yesterday.
That's real.
Yep.
But anyways, welcome to the living room. We're a ministry that shares the gospel of Jesus Christ and how he heals and walks with us through every trial. And we just want to do community with you, and we want to do life with you, and we stand in agreement with what Paul was saying to the Romans in chapter 8, verse 18, where it says that for consider that the sufferings of this present time are not compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. And so we cling tight to the hope, eternal hope, and a hope that is sure and solid in that of Jesus Christ. And we are it will take all of eternity for us to praise the Lord in awe and wonder and just worship who he is and all that he's done, because he's a good God.
Amen.
Good God. And we're diving into a new series this next couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about it. But apparently Mario would like me to promote myself.
That's right.
And
You better promote.
when we get to Enneagram 5, everybody's gonna be like, it makes sense. But anyways, so like we said last week, I have the privilege and honor of being signed to the 1,000 Hills Music record label, and I am so excited and just honored to be partnering with them in ministry. And we have some cool things coming up, and one being a trip back to Nashville, Louisville, to get some more rights in. But I think the most exciting thing is that an album will be produced later in the year. And so with that, is that we need help. I'm not very wealthy, and so we need to raise $14,000 in funds to produce this album. And some people are like, that's it, and other people are like, that's a lot. And so I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about that. Is that's actually extremely reasonable for the mixing, the mastering, the production, the people who are on the album, and all of you don't just get a Nashville produced album for $14,000. It's a huge blessing, and so we're super thankful for the partnership of 1,000 Hills Music. And if you would love the opportunity, well, I would ask that you would consider to pray for two things. Pray for me in this project, and just the protection for the ministry itself and the music and my heart and all of that. And then secondly, pray about giving financially to this project. There's a link below. It's www.generosity-rocks.com/1,000-hills-music. You can hear a little bit about my testimony and what's been going on in my life for the past year. But pray about sowing into this project, and I can promise you that you'll reap the benefits of that. But we just need some help. So if you could commit to praying for those two things, that would be awesome. I'm forever grateful, and I look forward to getting these awesome songs written by some phenomenal co-writers and that have become lifelong friends of mine. One of my friends who I wrote Courage Dear Heart with just released an album, and I tell you what, it is stellar. It is stellar, and it's thick and rich of God's mercy and grace. And she just talks a little bit about what God has done in her life through this journey, and so I'm excited to share that with you. So thank you so much for the past 3 minutes of promotion, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the Enneagram. Shelby,
you're muted, sister.
Man, I was on a roll too. The main reason why we're here is to talk about Jesus, and it ties in because You sing about Jesus and you're telling people about Jesus with your music. So it's all together. So please, you know she's good. You've heard her. She's the best you've heard. Nobody's like her.
Yeah.
Give, give, give.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Thanks, y'all. Thank you kindly. Merry Chrysler.
You're welcome.
Merry Chrysler.
Merry Crisis.
Merry Christmas. Anyways, so before we jump into the Enneagram, I thought we could tell about one like each of us could share an embarrassing story that happened this week.
This week.
I have no problem going first.
I have to think. I know there's more. There's a lot. Go ahead, Sav.
All right. So I had the awesome honor and privilege to play on the platform this week. And I just love it. Like it's very fulfilling and very rewarding for myself, and it's good. But there was this minor incident, whatever that was going on, and then the next thing I know, I felt like, and it was off the platform. It was in between services, so we have 2 services at my church, and I felt my pants like not just rip, but like shred, and I was like, like, okay, so I have 2 options here. I really didn't know what to do. Like, is it noticeable? 1. 2, like, what just happened?
Right.
So I'm in like full-blown panic mode because the service is starting in 3 minutes. And I'm leading 2 songs. And I'm like, what do you do? So I went and saw Shelby, and she's like, it's not noticeable, it's fine, whatever. So then I looked and I went and talked to another friend, and they're like, no, it's totally fine, whatever. So I untucked my shirt, pulled my shirt down. I have a sweater, like a sweatshirt on thing, whatever. It's not long, but it's not a crop top. So I look like a complete loser with this white shirt hanging out and this mustard colored sweatshirt on top. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. So I'm so uncomfortable. I'm on the platform, right? I'm so uncomfortable, whatever. I get through the songs. I go home. I change. Thankfully, we don't live far from the church. And I look and I'm like, there is no way. Like, this hole was not noticeable. But I tell you what, like, it was not some small hole. It looks like I straight, like, road rash slid on the road for 5 meters. Like, straight put my whole arm through the whole big rip. And I was like,
that is so funny.
Whoever told me, the people who told me that this is not noticeable lied in church.
In front of Jesus, in front of the Lord.
It was so embarrassing. Like, I'm like, the whole, it's big. It's big.
Look at Shelby. She's like, I was there.
Does anybody else have any embarrassing
I popped in
stories?
just in time to hear you telling lies.
No, I wasn't telling lies. I was saying that the hole is big.
It was, but you couldn't see it.
I know. Yes,
you couldn't see it.
I know. I told them that. Anybody else have any embarrassing stories?
Oh, I'm trying to think.
I'm having some technical difficulties, so I'm working on it. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I wish I had some. I usually have entertaining ones from like school and my students, but I can't think of anything right now. I'm trying to think if I've done anything embarrassing, but not that I can think of. I'm sure, but
that's all right.
Yeah.
I did want to share on here. A couple months ago, we had a friend of ours, Debbie, who was co-hosting on the show and things like that. But just reaching out for prayer for her and her family as her dad passed away. So just be praying for her and her family as they walk through this time of grief. And if you're friends with her on Facebook or you've got her phone number, just reach out to her and tell her that you're praying for her and her family. I know that it was somewhat expected, but just because it's expected doesn't mean that it takes the pain away. The effect of it is still very present. So yeah, just make sure that you keep her in prayer. And speaking of prayer, like if you need prayer or have a praise to share, like please type #prayer. We would love the opportunity to pray with you, pray for you. And if you need a Bible, type #Bible. If you, our pastor said yesterday, if you don't have a Bible, you should have asked one for Christmas. But if you still don't have a Bible, you can ask one for New Year's, and we'll get you one for New Year's. So we'll just get you one because we love you. So type #Bible. We'd love to send you a Bible as well. So just wanted to share that one thing. Anybody got anything else before we jump in? I'm trying to take all the embarrassment.
That was an amazing story.
What if I tell you?
Your white t-shirt and your mustard sweatshirt.
It was something.
Yep.
Well, we are starting a new series called the Enneagram and the Gospel. And if you haven't heard about the Enneagram, it's just a personality test type thing that kind of shares about your core fears, your core motivations, your core desires, and kind of how you operate basically in the realm of just these 9 boxes. Well, not really boxes because you're not a box. So we have 9 different types, and today we're going to start with a type 2, and we get to start with our very own Shelby. She's a type 2 with a heavy wing 3, and
it's heavy.
And so I'm excited to hear about that, Shelby. We're going to do 9 weeks total of the Enneagram. We're going to have hopefully have one person for each one. We've got a 1, we've got a 9, we've got a 2, we've got a 3, and we've got a 5. So we only need 4 numbers. So if you're a 6, 7, 4, or 8, let us know. If you need to know how to take the test, holler at us. We'd be happy to help you out. So Shelby, you're a type 2. Tell us what that means.
Well, also, just as a thing, I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties, and I can barely hear you guys. So if I'm like, that's why. But it's okay. We're gonna get through. So yes, I am a type 2, with a wing 3, like Sav said. I also, at times, pull to the 1. I pull some stuff from the 1, but it's mainly a 3. And so for me, like a 2 is a helper. And like with anybody in the Enneagram, all the people and their numbers look different. So all of this stuff that I'm going to say about the 2 is just like applies to my own personal experience of being a 2. So if there's other 2s that are like, that's not true for me, you're probably right. But so for me, like I'm very much like about my people. Like my people are very important to me. Like my main thing is like I just want to be loved and give love. So yeah, so I'm very like all about my tribe, and just I do enjoy helping like a lot. It's part of, like, sometimes it's hard for me to not help. A lot of times I overhelp, which is not helpful in actuality. But yeah, I can just keep going and saying random things, so I don't know.
What do you mean by overhelp?
So things like overhelping is like giving advice when they haven't asked for advice, or like being like a fixer. I'm very much a fixer, like to my core. And I don't like, it's not like I'm trying to like say I know better or anything like that. It's out of a place of like, I want to help, and like I feel like I have a good idea, rather than, and it's more so just inserting myself into things without actually being asked to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So a type 2 is labeled the helper, right? So we've established that. And tell us, I think it's interesting. Just me, I don't know, I could be wrong. So you're labeled as the helper, and tell us what you do for a living.
What I do for work? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So I work for Shipped, and it's a grocery delivery service. So I go and I shop for people's groceries, and then I take it to them. And a lot of the time it's people that are either they have COVID and they can't get out, or there's a lot of elderly people that do it, but also just people that are like really busy and don't have time to, and it's convenient. But yeah, it's probably my favorite job I've ever had. I just love it a lot.
That's awesome.
She even asked like us, like if she can get us things like groceries, just because anyway. It's like I'm sick. She's like, do you need me to go get you medicine? Do you need me to go get soup? Do you want anything? Just let me know. I'm like,
I'm always there.
And I think it's interesting, and we'll dive into this when we get to the 5s, but that is like a trigger for me. Right? So we've talked about this a little bit, but 5s value independence. And so I think trigger's the wrong word, but so like having somebody who is always wanting to help in the best way they can is challenging for me, because I am striving to be independent and I can do it on my own and I don't need people type of attitude, which is equally as damaging. Because
which was interesting, and like we'll probably talk more about this when we talk about you and your number, but I only recently found out that was like a trigger or a challenge for a 5 is like one of the, like I was listening to a podcast, and one of the things that the 5 said was like, asking what do I need is like the worst question you could ask me, which until I listened to that, I asked you that on a daily basis because that's just my normal thing. Like, how can I help you? Like, I want to do that. So little did I know I was triggering you every day. I'm sure really multiple times a day, but especially with that, which is a miracle that we're even friends on so many levels.
We said by the grace of God and God's sovereignty, you guys are like the greatest of friends.
Only by the grace of God, because truly, like, we are polar opposites, and
not even the kind of opposites that are like, oh yeah, opposites like this, like we're like, no, big like clashing, like
100%. So like Shelby's core motivations are like my core fears. So they like, it's interesting. It's only by the grace of God, but anyway.
And vice versa.
Look at Mario.
Funny, really? Funny. I need a job.
Doing too much.
That's what I need.
He probably has one for you.
But anyways, so how did you find out your number? Like, what did that look like? How did you find out your number and your wing? Let's do a 2-step question.
Yeah, so for me, actually, it took me a long time to even get involved in the Enneagram. Like at first, I was really like, no,
this
like
is
this
new
is
agey.
Like, I was like, it was like on that line for me of new agey, and I was like, I'm not sure about this, but like all my people like dove into it. And then just the more like I like was hearing about it then from them, and then did my own kind of like research and stuff, like it was like, okay, this is more like a personality thing, and like more similar to like Myers-Briggs than some kind of weird. It's not like not is it astrology? Yeah, astrology or whatever.
Like the stars and
So
stuff?
I ended up taking a test, and I had actually scored evenly to either be a 2 or a 6. And so I wasn't really sure what that meant. And so I took it 3 more times. I was hitting a 2 each time. And so then which it all kind of like, I don't know. I feel like this may just be me, but I feel like if you're a 2, there's not that much like question about it. Like I feel like it's probably one of the easier ones to like not diagnose, but
Like
but like
decipher, like
establish. Whereas like our friend Savannah is like fluid in all the
I've had
numbers.
3 numbers.
yeah, she already has
Like,
three
I've
numbers.
tried to figure it's
But
been
once,
hard.
yeah, it's impressive. But once I like saw the like core, it was actually not even the core motivations, but the core fears. I was like, oh, 100% that's me. So I actually like struggled more with figuring out my wing than I did my type. And at first I didn't understand wings, so I was like, oh, I'm a 2 wing 6, which like isn't a thing. But then for a long time I actually thought I was a wing 1, just because like the organization and stuff like that. But the more like I really looked into it, I realized I was actually a 2 wing 3. And so just kind of seeing the like differences and like which ways I'm pulled more than others, it really like solidified it.
That's cool. So tell us how you feel your Enneagram has like, what does that like, I don't know how to word it correctly. Like, how do you feel your Enneagram number, like you being a helper, plays into your relationship with Christ?
I think like for me there's definitely like, and I mean I guess with anything, but there's like good and like growth opportunities as well. Because like for me I really feel connected with Christ in the whole like aspect of his compassion for people and like coming to their level. And like it talks about in the gospel so many times of Christ like touching like the outcast, or like he'll put his hand on them, which was like completely not like allowed even in that time. And just seeing like the beauty of like helping others and loving others. Like I feel like I really like jive with him, and like can relate and see that so clearly, and just really like be in awe of him, and knowing that like that in me is a reflection of him. And so that's really cool. And then like in the like growth area, a thing that like I constantly am working on and have to remind myself of is so since I have that wing 3, like I that mixed with my 2 creates a pretty profound issue of feeling like I have to do in order to like earn love, or earn worth. And so like that totally, I see that totally translating into my relationship with Christ at times, because I feel like, oh, I'm not serving him enough, or I need to make sure I'm doing this, so that like he can see that, oh, I was worth his sacrifice, which is actually like ridiculous because
I feel that deep.
nobody's ever worth. And so yeah, so I see that like playing a lot into it, of like reminding myself like there's nothing I can do to like achieve his love or his worth or anything like that. Like, and that's the beauty of grace. So I like, I'm in a like a constant like battle of that, because it's just like at my core is that I feel like I have to earn or do something in order to achieve that love or acceptance or whatever it is.
And I think a lot of people can resonate with that, and I think like it goes back to good works. Like, we do good works because God is good. We don't do good works because we need to, and we do them to worship him. And like I said at the beginning, like, it's going to take all of eternity for us to worship him, and that's our job. That's what we've been created for. We've been created to do. And if there was anything that we could have done, Christ's sacrifice wouldn't have been needed. Yeah. And it's crazy to think about that. But thanks for being so transparent in that area. I think a lot of people can resonate with that in different ways. Like, I think everybody can take bits and pieces of that and find it manifested in its own way in their own life. And I think that that's good. And I think like we can put up, like if we look at each Enneagram number, they have some sort of label, right? And I was thinking about this as you were speaking. But like you can see, I'm gonna put that up actually over our faces, but you can see like Christ in each and every one of these numbers, right? So like if you see the peacemaker, Christ is a peacemaker, right? That's in scripture. Active controller, so this is also known as like the challenger, and so I immediately think of justice. And I think of how important justice is to him. And then 7, the enthusiastic visionary, like Christ. We carry the image of God, and Christ is the vision imagery of God. Christ is 100% loyal to the Father. Therefore, we must be 100% loyal in obedience. And the specialist, I think, isn't like the other word for that they use for a 5 is an observer and an investigator. And so Christ is very, like we can see in many of the parables and many of the stories how he's very, very quiet, reserved, but at the same time, he's very aware of things that are going on. And I mean, God obviously is sovereign and knows all, is all, and has all in his hands, right? And so then we look at the 4, and I mean, it's in Genesis 1. God created. Right. So then we go to the 3, and they're like the achievers, right? And so Christ achieved God's greatest gift to us through his massive amount of obedience, pleading with the Lord, saying, no, I don't want to, but knows that it was necessary. And he's the compassionate helper in the 2, where he just displays empathy and compassion and love and grace and mercy. And he's the perfectionist, because we know that there's only one perfect man known to mankind who walked this earth, and it was Christ. And so I think each one of, like, as we look at these numbers and reflect on ourselves and all of those things, like, we have to remember a couple of things. And I think one of those is like we bear the image of God. And with that comes a high responsibility and a high regard for obedience, and a high regard for just taking what it says in Ephesians and Colossians and Galatians, where we are to walk worthy in a way and a manner of the Lord. Like, that's a high call. And then we are to look at our number and be like, man, this is something that I can represent Christ well at. Right. And here's some struggles that I have. Here's my wings, all of those things. And I think it's important for us to just sit with that and be like, man, that's cool. It's reverent. It's vast. It's very important. But that's my 2 cents. I'll be done now.
No, we love it. That's good.
So good.
Where I don't know how to word this question. Like, what does your time with the Lord look like? Like, I feel like sometimes say quiet. Some people say quiet time. Some people say whatever. But like, not all my time is quiet. So like, what does your time alone with Him look like?
Yeah. Mine changes a lot because I struggle with doing the same thing over and over again. That's how I know I'm not a wing one. So I have to like switch it up a bit. But some of my most favorite like times with the Lord are when I can either be like at the beach by myself or just even outside when it's warm. That's like, I don't know, just feeling like I'm connected with him in like nature and in the warmth is like, I think for me it goes back to that whole like just like feeling thing, which I know like that's another thing I always have to watch is to make sure I'm not like always just focused on the feeling aspect of it because our emotions can be crazy.
We're also
Yeah.
so that's also like part of the Enneagram, sorry to interrupt, but the triad too. So it's like the feeling triad and that you fall under that. So do I, Shelb, obviously. So Sav, that's 2, 3, 4, right?
2,
Or what
3,
is that?
4. Yeah. So
Yeah.
1, 9, 8 are the gut. You guys are the feelers, and I'm the like 5, 6, 7 is the head. So like I struggle with the opposite. So like for what you guys would say, like what are you feeling? You can answer that question. For me, I would be like, I can tell you what I'm thinking all day long, but I have a hard time connecting my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for me, actually, like, for me being a 2, and I'll segue back into the first question you asked, but like, I personally struggled until I went to therapy, and I'm in therapy, like, praise God. But I could tell you what everybody in the room was feeling or think what they were feeling, but I had a hard time knowing what I was feeling. Like I knew there were feelings, but like I couldn't articulate them until like therapy and stuff like that really helped. So I think like even in that is like with the feelers, we may not even know what all we're feeling at times, which can be really hard. But that's why there's always room to grow. And that's why like I'm thankful for things like the Enneagram because they help point out different areas where like we have opportunities to grow too. But anyway, so my time with God, like I love just like being out in nature and just like feeling the warmth of the sun, which sounds, oh my gosh, in in growth I go to a 4, so like I tap into my the artsiness of the 4, but just like being out and either reading the Bible or just like listening to worship music. And just even sometimes I am out there and it's just quiet and just kind of like taking in just the sounds and stuff. Like that's my absolute favorite time with God and favorite thing to do. But then it also looks like me just like really getting like into the word and just like really studying or like picking like a word or something that really stands out and just like kind of going off on a rabbit trail with it. But it's just like that the whole time of like connection for me and just feeling like I am connected to him. Like that's like the goal of my quiet times with him.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Kate, any last things? Shelby, did you have anything before we
wrap it up?
I don't know.
think so.
I don't
I
think,
mean,
yeah,
I did have
go ahead.
I did have a funny like how there's like stereotypes about numbers. It's like, there's like an accurate stereotype or an inaccurate stereotype. So for me, I was reading through different things last night, and the accurate one that I found is that twos are always asking their friends if they're mad at them. And I feel like I do. I'm a lot better at it, though. I'm a lot better.
There was a season of our friendship where Shelby asked me if I was mad at her at least 5 times a week.
This is very true. Yep,
Yeah.
I will admit it. I will.
Growth, my friend.
Yes.
Growth.
I think, too, it kind of goes along
I'm
with
thankful that I'm.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I think, like, obviously that kind of plays in with, like, wanting to, like, the core fears of, like, wanting to, like, not being loved and not being, like, 3 is not being worthy, which is mine. So I feel like those go pretty hand in hand, but, like, so it's like that people pleasing mentality. So if you're not, like, earning that, or you're not in that realm of, like, we're in a good place and we're vibing, and if we're not vibing, I need to fix it because I'm a fixer. So let me fix it and it'll be great. So I think that's like, and it's like this high, like, thing that it just was where you live in that realm. So it's like the fact that you've grown so much in that too. Not saying that was a bad thing, but you know what I mean? Just like something that you worked on.
It was.
Well, and I think part of it is like when you get into a 5, like I think they'll understand a little bit, but like 5s can just randomly disappear for days.
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with their friends, and it has everything to do with our own selves. And we get so caught up in a task, or we are like lost inside of our head. And I was listening to this podcast once or whatever, and somebody was like, "Bro, where have you been? Are you okay?" He was like, "Yeah, man, I'm fine. Like, I'm great." And they're
I'm doing great.
Where have you been gone? Like, MIA for 2 days. And he was like, "Bro, I'm great. Like, I'm doing fine. Like, nothing's wrong." And so I think, like, for the people pleaser and the fixer and the wanting to be loved and wanting to, like, all of that, for me to just, like, when we're vibing, like Kate said, and when we're doing well, and then all of a sudden I just fall off the face of the earth, immediately you're going to think I've done something wrong.
It's me. Yeah.
It's me. Where in reality, for me, I'm like, and I have this like push-pull thing, which is a 5 thing as well. Like, for me, it's the opposite. I'm like, all right, I'm way caught up in this. I have to finish this, or I'm in this thing. I'm doing this, whatever. Don't get too close. You can come close. Don't get too close. Whatever type of thing. And so, like we said at the beginning, 1, I don't know how any 5s have friends. It's only by the grace of God. But 2, like 5s, I think something that is important, and 2s, and I feel like 3s are the same way. Like some of the most loyal people you'll ever meet. For sure. But anyway, Shelby, thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of an insight into your life and your personality and your traits and your feelings and your thoughts and how it plays into your walk with Christ and how you embody that with Christ. I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope that our listeners can help either love themselves better or love their fellow 2s better, because that's important. So thank you for that.
Because they love us so well.
They do. 2s give us a great example of how to love people, and we can learn a lot from that.
That's real.
We can learn a lot from that. So Shelby, thank you. Kicking off the Enneagram series. Couple reminders as we head out. If you need prayer or a Bible, type #Bible, #prayer. We'd love the opportunity to do that with you. If you want to know your Enneagram number, send us a message or Google it and type in how to find your Enneagram number, take a test. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to talk you through that as well. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. This is a perfect opportunity for you to share the gospel with people. And as always, know that we're praying for you. We love you. We hope that you would look to Jesus and seek him above all else. And we'll see you guys next week.